Senior officials expressed their deep anxiety about the lack of preparations for the reconstruction of Iraq in private memos. This is David Manning, now British ambassador to Washington, after a dinner with Condoleezza Rice.
From what she said, Bush is yet to find the answers to the big questions. What happens on the morning after? I think there is a real risk that the administration underestimates the difficulties.
And Foreign Secretary Jack Straw wrote this.
We also have to answer the big question. What will this action achieve? And how there can be any certainty that the replacement regime will be better. Iraq has had no history of democracy, so no one has this habit or experience.
It's perfectly clear that neither Tony Blair here in London or George Bush in Washington had the faintest idea what to do after the invasion of Iraq. The Americans took an optimistic view of what would happen.
After liberation, the streets in Basra and Baghdad are sure to erupt in joy.
The overwhelming majority are anxious to be liberated and be free.
The regime would be greeted warmly by the people as long as they felt a better life was awaiting them.
I think the general impression we all had was that the Iraqis would be very celebratory and welcome us with open arms after 35 years of repression. Obviously that advice was wrong.
In the event, the fall of Saddam was greeted with random violence and looting on a massive scale. This murderous chaos and anarchy has now spread and dominates large parts of the country. That was also the purpose of the grand ceremony that took place a few months ago to sign the new Iraqi constitution. Supporters of the constitution say it is a major step forward in bringing together the disparate Sunnis, Kurds and Shiites and lay the foundations for a united country.
This is a birthday of a nation. Today, a new Iraq was born.
You can have a pluralistic society that has both elements that pull the society apart in different directions, but also has elements that bring them together. This Constitution is an attempt to do this.
The making of this Constitution has entailed an effort to come to grips with that, to find the right balance between central authority and a unified state and local authority embodying local traditions and attitudes.
That may be what the Constitution is supposed to do, but it opens the way to the breakup of Iraq. Peter Galbraith, a guest of the Kurdish delegation, believes it heralds an independent Kurdistan.
This was much more a process that resembled the making of a peace treaty and not communities coming together to write the constitution of a country that they wanted to build together. What really is going on is that each of these communities is saying, we want to run our own affairs, and the Kurds would like independence. So it is a constitution that legalizes Kurdistan as a separate state within the overall framework of Iraq and ratifies the divisions of Iraq.
The irony is that the Constitution is likely to achieve the precise opposite of what the politicians intended. It's laying the groundwork for a divided and not a united country. Just as the elections earlier this year helped to widen the divide in Iraqi society. Western politicians don't say that. According to them, the elections were an important milestone on the way to a democratic Iraq. But when Iraqis actually voted in those elections, Shia voted for Shia, Sunni for Sunni, and Kurd for Kurd. It was nothing like the kind of free vote which we mean by democracy. The next elections take place in mid-December. But when Iraqis actually voted in those elections, Shia voted for Shia, Sunni for Sunni, and Kurd for Kurd. It was nothing like the kind of free vote which we mean by democracy. The next elections take place in mid-December. Contrary to what the coalition would have us believe, the outcome here in Sadr City is quite clearly in the hands of the extremist Shiite cleric, Muqtada al-Sadr.
No doubt these elections will be hailed as a success, and new Iraqi MPs swear their allegiance to the new Iraqi state. The problem, though, is this. The Shias may use their majority to push through hardline Islamic policies, a prospect that will terrify the Sunni minority, the Kurds in the north, and most of all, the coalition.